This video will take the Tesla third-generation wall connector as an example. We will introduce the installation method of the Tesla wall connector. This charging pile. Very suitable for home electric vehicle charging. Please read the installation manual carefully before installation. Understand the required tools and materials as well as the connection requirements for power supply. Before we start, please ensure you are familiar with basic electrical safety operating rules. And the application for electric construction permits has already been submitted to the Electrical Safety Department. Safety is our primary consideration during the learning and construction process. Next, we will introduce the tools and materials needed for installing the third-generation Tesla wall connector. During the installation process, we will need the following tools: electrician screwdriver, multimeter, stud finder, wire stripper, cordless drill, impact drill. Level. Wallboard tools and electrician's knife. The materials needed are 50 amp air switch, Tesla third-generation wall-mounted charging pile wall box 6 number 3-strand wire, and relevant components for connecting the wire pipe. Electrical tape, wire connectors, wire sleeves. Open the packaging box of the charging pile. Confirm the components of the charging pile. Strong nucleus of the charging pile. Charging pile junction box. Charging pile wiring template. 4 mm. Hex head. Product user manual. A nylon zip tie. 4 fixing screws. For securing the charging pile and junction box. 2 fixing screws for the junction box. Next, we need to determine the installation position of the charging pile wall box. Installation position of the charging pile wall box. You can refer to the installation manual for determination. The manual specifies installation for indoor and outdoor setups. Requirements for corresponding height ranges are provided. We can refer to make a decision. For example, the height of the charging pile wall box is most suitable at the user's chest level. The charging pile's distance to the car must be strong. Based on the length of the charging pile strong connected wire. Ensure the wires can easily reach the car charging interface position. Wires must not be taut. Before we fix the charging pile nucleus to the wall, we also need to consider the method we will use to bring the wires into the junction box of the charging pile. Because this will affect our entire installation process. Wires can enter the charging pile from above. It can also enter from below. Or enter from the back of the junction panel. When entering from the back, we need to place the entrance hole slightly on the left or right side, as shown in the diagram. The top and bottom of the junction box each have a preset 3/4 inch entrance hole. If choosing to enter from the top or bottom, you can directly pry open the entrance hole. If choosing to enter from the back of the junction box, you will need to create an entrance hole on the left rear or right rear side of the back. Now we need to use a stud finder to locate the wooden beams behind the wallboard. Use the charging pile installation template. Determine the height and horizontal position of the charging pile. For the top or bottom wire entry, you can install the charging pile so that the wooden beam is in the center position of the charging pile horizontally, as shown in the diagram, and ensure that the screws for the junction box can be secured to the wooden beams behind the wall. Then mark the top and bottom screw holes with a pencil. For the rear entry installation method, be sure to avoid wooden beams when positioning the entry pipe, so that the conduit and wires can enter the junction box of the charging pile. Then use the included screws to secure the junction box to the wall. Now let's start wiring the charging pile. First, we need to run a wire from the mounting plate to the wall-mounted wall and power the wall-mounted wall and charging pile. The wiring method needs to be determined based on the specific situation on site. Typically, wires are prioritized to be run inside walls. If wiring outside the wall is required, wiring conduits must be used to protect the wires. Protective conduits for wires can be metal conduit like this. It can also be like this. Flexible hoses that are easier to install, or PVC pipe. At the end where the wire connects to the electric panel, it is necessary to connect the wires to the electric panel through a 50 amp air switch. Wiring of the air switch is as follows. The ground wire and neutral wire of the wires are connected to the ground wire and neutral terminal of the electric panel. The 2 live wires, black and red, are connected to the 2 terminals of the air switch. Next, we will introduce the wiring for the strong end and charging pile. Let's use entering from the bottom as an example. Connect the conduit into the charging pile box. Pull the wires into the junction box. For the top entry method, the wires will be led to the bottom of the charging pile, and enter the terminal from below. For the back entry method, wires should be led to the top, and enter the terminal from above. Put the wires into the wire clips. Strip half an inch of insulation from each wire. Start by connecting the ground wire. Then connect L1 and L2 to the corresponding terminals. Then tighten the wires. And use the included nylon zip ties to secure the wires to the housing upon installing the charging pile wall box. Secure the charging pile to the junction box with the included screws and neatly wind the excess wire around the shell in a counterclockwise direction. Fix the handle to the side base. This concludes the installation introduction of the charger. Thank you for watching.